The universe has always been a mirror for human wonder. For thousands of years, we have raised our eyes to the night sky and tried to read its patterns, to understand its meaning. The stars, so distant and ancient, seem eternal. The planets wander, the comets blaze and vanish, and behind them all lies the infinite blackness of space. Science tells us that this is the stage upon which galaxies swirl, where gravity bends the very fabric of time, where light itself can be trapped by invisible black holes. Yet even with all this knowledge, there are still mysteries that disturb our sense of certainty, a phenomena that remind us how fragile our understanding really is. One of those mysteries carries a name that is as strange as the phenomenon itself. 3. I divided by Atlas. It is not a star, not a planet, not a comet. It is not easily placed in any category of science. Instead, it exists at the border between fact and myth, a subject of heated debate among astronomers, philosophers, and mystics alike. To some, 3I divided by Atlas is simply a misinterpreted natural event, a quirk of observation. To others, it is far more, a presence, a watcher, an intelligence older than humankind. The earliest whispers of something resembling 3I divided by Atlas appear not in modern journals but in ancient stories. Egyptian carvings depict 3 shining orbs hovering in the heavens, aligned like unblinking eyes. The Mayans, too, told of a triad of lights that signaled cycles of destruction and rebirth. In the East, the myth of the third eye symbolized both higher awareness and divine judgment. Across cultures that never touched, across centuries that never overlapped, the symbol of 3 radiant eyes returns again and again. Coincidence or continuity? Was humanity witnessing the same event across generations, each recording it with the tools of their time? Stone, glyph, parchment, memory. Modern science has not erased the mystery it has, only deepened it. Observers describe an object, or perhaps 3 objects, that appear suddenly, moving in ways no natural body should move. They halt without reason, accelerate without force, and sometimes vanish entirely, reappearing in distant parts of the sky. Telescopes designed to track them report anomalies, sudden fluctuations in brightness, pulses of energy that repeat with unnerving precision. Radio telescopes, listening to the sky, have even recorded bursts of signals at the same times, signals that are structured, patterned, almost like coded language. But perhaps the strangest effect of all lies not in the stars, but in the human mind. Witnesses to the phenomenon report a chilling sensation, as if they are not just looking upward, but being looked at in return. The lights, those 3 radiant points, do not behave like stars. They feel alive. They feel aware. People describe dreams that return night after night, dreams of eyes burning through the sky, of whispers echoing in the silence of their thoughts. Some feel terror, as if prey under the gaze of a predator. Others feel revelation, as though touched by something vast, something beyond comprehension. And some emerge changed, speaking truths they never studied, describing visions they never sought. What is 3I divided by Atlas? A natural phenomenon so unusual that it defies our laws of physics? A machine from another age, drifting silently until we are advanced enough to notice? Or an intelligence, a consciousness without body, reaching into our reality only when it chooses? If it is alive, does it come as guardian, judge, or destroyer? If it is not alive, why does it leave such deep impressions on those who witness it? Imagine the scene yourself. You stand beneath a quiet sky, the world around you hushed, the constellations glow in familiar patterns. And then, 3 new lights appear. They are not stars, not satellites, not aircraft. They remain motionless for a moment, then shift in unison, tracing movements that should be impossible. Time seems to slow. Your breath catches. Your body feels heavy. And in your mind, faint but undeniable, something stirs an echo, a vibration, a voice that is not your own. That is what countless witnesses describe. That is the moment they realize the night sky was not empty but watching them in return. Tonight, we begin a journey into this enigma. We will explore the stories left by ancient civilizations, the strange movements recorded by modern instruments, the signals that seem to whisper across the void, and the dreams that haunt those who claim to have been chosen. These are the 4 great mysteries of 3I divided by Atlas, mysteries that no scientist, no philosopher, no mystic has yet solved. So settle into the silence. Let your thoughts drift with the rhythm of the words. We are entering a space where science and myth intertwine, where data and dream are inseparable. We are entering the shadow of a mystery that may reshape not only how we see the stars, but how we understand ourselves. This is the story of Three Eye divided by Atlas, the enigma of the three eyes in the sky, the presence that stands at the threshold of human knowledge. When we explore the origins of Three Eye divided by Atlas, we cross a boundary where fact and myth blur into one another. This is not only the story of data charts and telescopes, nor only of ancient stone carvings and sagas whispered across campfires. It is both. Three Eye divided by Atlas is not simply an astronomical object. It is an echo, a recurring figure in human consciousness. Let us begin with the ancient Egyptians, masters of the night sky. Along the Nile, beneath pyramids built as stairways to eternity, priests recorded visions of the eyes of the sky. In temples, archaeologists have found carvings showing three orbs above the horizon. To casual eyes, these might be the sun, the moon, and Sirius, the star so bright it was worshipped as a goddess. But closer study reveals the orbs drawn not as stars, but as eyes. They gaze outward, unblinking. Their symmetry is deliberate. To the Egyptians, these were no ordinary lights. They were symbols of divine judgment, cosmic intelligence. Priests believed these eyes watched over the living and the dead, recording truth in silence. Was this merely symbolism, or were they carving what they truly saw? Far away, in the dense jungles of Central America, the Mayans preserved their own testimony. Their codices, fragile yet astonishing, describe Oxlahunti-Ching, the triple light. Before catastrophes, three blazing objects appeared in the heavens. To the Mayans, history was a wheel of ages. Each world destroyed so another could be born. The three lights were heralds of this destruction and rebirth. They did not just shine, they announced endings. How uncanny that on opposite sides of the earth, with no possibility of contact, Egyptians and Mayans shared the same vision. Three blazing eyes, watching from the sky. In India, the theme emerges again, though shaped into myth. The god Shiva carries a third eye. Legends say that when it opens, illusions burn away, and truth is revealed. This eye is not one of vision alone, but of judgment and transformation. It can destroy, but also renew. For some scholars, this myth may have roots in celestial events, strange lights in the heavens inspiring metaphors of higher vision. For others, it reflects a universal archetype that humanity instinctively links the cosmos, sight, and truth. Whether myth or memory, the image resonates with Three Eye divided by Atlas. The Babylonians, pioneers of astronomy, kept clay tablets etched with records of stars, comets, and planetary alignments. Among them, rare notations mention three lamps appearing suddenly, moving outside the expected order. Unlike comets or eclipses, these were unpredictable. They were not scientific entries, but omens, tied to famine, conquest, and the fall of kings. For the Babylonians, the heavens were a divine text. In that text, three lamps meant upheaval. In the East, the Chinese dynasties cultivated one of the longest traditions of sky watching. Court astronomers served as guardians of cosmic order, recording every eclipse, nova, or comet. In the Han dynasty, they wrote of three blazing stars moving across the heavens. These sightings coincided with shifts of dynastic power. To them, the appearance of three lights was no mere accident. It was heaven's warning, announcing change. These were official records, not folk tales, written by professionals whose careers depended on accuracy. Traveling north, we reach the myths of the Norse, who believed that before Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, three eyes of fire would appear in the sky. These lights did not simply illuminate. They gazed, they judged, they presided, as gods and men alike fell into chaos and rebirth. To the Norse, these eyes were watchers, heralds of inevitable transformation. If we pause here, a pattern emerges. Across Egypt, Maya, Babylon, India, China, and the Norse world, separated by oceans and centuries, we find the same vision. Three lights, three eyes, appearing in times of change. Always three, always tied to transformation, judgment, endings, and beginnings. Why three? Why not two or four? The answer lies in symbolism. The number three has always carried meaning. In geometry, 3 points form the simplest stable shape, the triangle. In narrative, 3 creates completeness, beginning, middle, end. In religion, threes abound: the Christian Trinity, the Hindu Trimurti of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the Taoist 3 pure ones, the triple goddess of pagan traditions. 3 represents totality, balance, wholeness. To see 3 lights above was to see more than stars. It was to see a cosmic sign. This resonance may explain why reports of 3 divided by Atlas so often describe not 1 or 2 but 3 blazing points of light. Whether coincidence or design, the number magnifies its impact. The ancients saw them as divine eyes. The modern mind might see them as alien craft, but both respond the same way, with awe, with fear, with recognition that something greater is looking back. Now let us cross into the present age, where science provides its own records. In 2019, astronomers discovered an object passing through the solar system. It was not bound by the sun's gravity. It came from the stars beyond. They named it 3I divided by Atlas, the third interstellar object recorded by humans. It was not the first. Oumuamua in 2017 had already sparked debate. But while Oumuamua puzzled scientists with its cigar-like shape and mysterious acceleration, 3I divided by Atlas confounded them even more. Its path curved in ways gravity could not explain. Unlike comets, it displayed no visible tail. Unlike asteroids, it flickered with irregular brightness. Some proposed outgassing jets of sublimating ice too faint to see. But calculations showed the changes in trajectory were too sharp, too precise. It was as if the object could adjust itself. More unsettling were the signals. Radio telescopes monitoring 3I divided by Atlas detected bursts of energy. Most dismissed these as interference. Yet the bursts showed repetition, rhythm, even hints of mathematical structure. Some contained sequences resembling prime numbers patterns rare in nature, but common in deliberate code. Could it be artificial? Harvard astronomer R.V. Loeb, already controversial for suggesting Oumuamua might be alien technology, raised the possibility. Was 3I divided by Atlas a probe? A fragment of something ancient, drifting between stars? Mainstream scientists urged caution. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, but they could not explain away the anomalies entirely. And so, the debate began. Was 3I divided by Atlas a natural object behaving in ways we did not yet understand? Or was it, like the ancient myths suggested, a watcher appearing again when humanity was ready to notice? As 3I divided by Atlas moved across the sky, astronomers struggled to categorize it. Every natural explanation felt incomplete. Outgassing? Unlikely, given the absence of a cometary tail. Instrument error? Implausible, since multiple observatories confirmed the data. Some suggested exotic compositions, perhaps materials unknown to us, behaving in ways beyond current physics. Others hinted at darker possibilities, that our models of interstellar objects were far too limited, and 3I divided by Atlas was teaching us something we were not prepared to learn. But the scientific puzzle was only half the story. The other half unfolded in the human mind. Witnesses described powerful experiences after learning of or observing 3I divided by Atlas. Nightmares of 3 blazing eyes hovering in the darkness. Whispers in languages they did not understand. A sudden heaviness, as if the very air pressed down upon them. Some even claimed visions mathematical insights, geometric shapes, revelations they could not explain. Psychologists suggested this was collective imagination, people primed by myths and media projecting meaning onto random lights. Yet the consistency was troubling. Reports from different countries, in different languages, echoed the same imagery. 3 radiant eyes, alive, aware, watching. Here, the line between myth and science blurs most vividly. Ancient priests spoke of eyes of the sky. Modern astronomers track an object that moves like no asteroid, flickers with strange brightness, emits signals that whisper like language. Different eras, different tools, but the same sense. Something in the heavens looking back. This raises deeper questions. Could 3I divided by Atlas be a phenomenon designed or destined to trigger human perception? Perhaps the ancients and the moderns are both right. It is at once a physical visitor and a psychological catalyst. Not merely a rock drifting through space, but a presence woven into cosmic cycles. Like a mirror, it reflects the stage of humanity, appearing when we are on the edge of change. Some theorists call this the cosmic mirror hypothesis. They argue that phenomena like 3I divided by Atlas surface, not randomly but in rhythm with human evolution. Ancient civilizations, in moments of transition, recorded the three lights. Today, as we stand on the brink of space travel, artificial intelligence, and planetary crisis, 3I divided by Atlas reappears. Coincidence or a pattern stretching beyond time? There are also more radical voices in science. A few physicists suggest that 3I divided by Atlas might be connected to dark matter, the invisible substance that makes up most of the universe, but remains undetected. If the object interacts differently with gravity, it could hint at properties of dark matter or exotic physics. Others speculate about cosmic strings, remnants of the early universe that could distort space itself. In these theories, 3I divided by Atlas is not a probe but a clue, a physical fragment of cosmic truth. Yet the artificial hypothesis persists. If Oumuamua and 3I divided by Atlas are both anomalies, perhaps they are not accidents. Perhaps they are artifacts, technologies from civilizations older than ours, drifting between stars. The idea is unsettling but not unthinkable. After all, our own Voyager probes are now leaving the solar system. Millions of years from now, might another civilization stumble upon them and wonder, could 3I divided by Atlas be someone else's Voyager, an ancient messenger, lost in the void? Against this backdrop, the symbolism of 3 grows even more uncanny. Imagine an advanced intelligence trying to signal across cultures. What sign could be universal? The eye, a symbol of awareness. The number 3, a symbol of completeness. Together, 3 eyes, an unmistakable message. We see you. We are whole. We are here. Skeptics remind us that humans are meaning makers. We find patterns in randomness. We connect dots that may not belong together. And yet, skepticism cannot erase the repetition across centuries. Egyptians, Mayans, Babylonians, Chinese, Norse all spoke of triple lights. Modern science now finds interstellar objects behaving oddly. Too many dots align. At some point, chance becomes less convincing than mystery. So where does the truth lie? Perhaps 3I divided by Atlas is a comet with unusual properties. Perhaps it is a phenomenon of space-time, a ripple we do not yet understand. Perhaps it is an artifact, a probe, or even a living presence, older than human memory. Or perhaps it is all of these at once: physical, symbolic, psychological, a reality too vast to fit inside one definition. What is certain is this: 3I divided by Atlas has been with us across time, with the Egyptians carving stone, with the Mayans watching the jungle skies, with Chinese astronomers at their bronze instruments, with Norse storytellers warning of Ragnarok, with modern scientists scanning the heavens, puzzled by data, with dreamers and witnesses haunted by visions of eyes. It is not only an object, it is part of the human story, a reminder that the boundary between science and myth is thinner than we admit, that sometimes what we dismiss as legend may be fragments of memory, and that sometimes what we call data may be echoes of something far older than we imagine. As we leave this exploration of origins, one truth lingers like a shadow: 3I divided by Atlas is timeless. It was here before us. It will remain after us, watching, waiting. A mystery etched not only into the heavens, but into our minds. And now, with its beginnings traced through legend and science, we turn to the first of its great mysteries, an image that has haunted humanity for millennia: the sudden, impossible appearance of 3 blazing eyes in the night sky. Throughout human history, there are moments when the night sky ceases to be a silent backdrop and instead becomes a stage for the incomprehensible. Among the strangest of these moments is the sudden appearance of 3 blazing lights, aligned or clustered, burning with unnatural brilliance. To some, they looked like suns that should not exist. To others, they were eyes living, aware, gazing down with intent. This is the first great mystery of 3I divided by Atlas, the phenomenon of the triple lights in the heavens. The earliest testimonies are scattered across civilizations. Ancient Egyptian records describe three lights appearing over the desert before great floods. Priests called them the judges, declaring that the Nile would rise higher than men expected. Thousands of miles away, Mayan codices speak of triple stars flashing before the collapse of dynasties. Chinese chronicles from the Han dynasty note three fiery points lingering above the capital, accompanied by political unrest. The Norse sagas tell of three eyes of flame glowing in the northern sky before Ragnarok. In each case, the pattern repeats. Three lights appear, and change follows. Modern astronomy has tried to explain away such tales. Perhaps these were planetary conjunctions, like Jupiter, Saturn, and Venus, aligning in a rare formation. Perhaps they were comets breaking into fragments, appearing as a triad of fire. Yet the descriptions often go beyond natural explanations. Witnesses wrote of lights that moved in perfect unison, then suddenly split apart. Lights that hovered without drifting, brighter than any star yet dimmer than the moon. Lights that blinked in rhythm, as if signaling. Take, for example, the Babylonian tablets from 700 BCE. One describes three lamps, burning as though bound together, moving against the heavens with will. That phrase "with will" is remarkable. Babylonian astronomers were careful observers, skilled at recording eclipses to the minute. For them to attribute intention to celestial lights suggests something profoundly strange. Fast forward to the Middle Ages in Europe, chroniclers recorded a triple sun above the skies of Nuremberg in 1561. Citizens described objects darting, circling, then forming three radiant orbs before vanishing. Historians today classify this as a mass sighting, a celestial phenomenon perhaps caused by atmospheric optics. Yet the witnesses insisted the lights were not illusions of ice crystals, but solid, glowing bodies engaged in conflict. Was this a glimpse of the same triad described by ancients, reappearing in a new age? In the 20th century, reports of triple lights surged alongside the rise of modern UFO sightings. Farmers in the American Midwest spoke of three orbs hovering silently over fields. Pilots in World War II described Foo fighters, luminous spheres tracking their planes, often in groups of three. In 1967, a Canadian family witnessed three brilliant objects hovering above a lake, their reflections rippling across the water, before they shot into the night with impossible speed. The recurrence of three is striking. Why not one? Why not five? Here, skeptics argue coincidence. After all, the human mind is wired to see patterns. Three is a number of stability when lights appear. We group them into a triangle. But witnesses consistently describe not random clusters but three distinct lights acting together, often in synchrony, as though coordinated. The link to 3I divided by Atlas complicates matters further. When the interstellar object was tracked in 2019, some astronomers reported unusual flares in brightness. At times, telescopes recorded not a single point of light, but three, flickering, separating, then merging again. Instrument error was suggested, but the anomaly was logged in different observatories in different countries. Could the ancient triple lights and the modern data be one and the same phenomenon, manifestations of 3I divided by Atlas across ages? This possibility has stirred fierce debate. If true, it would mean that 3I divided by Atlas is not just a wandering rock, but something that periodically appears as triple lights in the sky. Ancient eyes saw it as divine, modern instruments record it as anomaly, but the essence remains. Three blazing eyes, watching. Another puzzle lies in the psychological impact. Witnesses of triple lights often describe profound emotional reactions. Some feel overwhelming dread, convinced that catastrophe looms. Others feel awe, as if graced by revelation. A few even report altered states of consciousness, visions, voices, sudden insights. Could the lights interact with the human mind, triggering deep archetypes within us? Carl Jung once suggested UFOs might be modern manifestations of timeless symbols, drawn from the collective unconscious. If so, 3I divided by Atlas as triple eyes is less an object than a trigger, an archetype activated in times of crisis. And yet, there are moments too precise to dismiss as psychology. In 1985, villagers in Siberia witnessed three lights hovering over the horizon for hours. They reported that the lights aligned in a perfect equilateral triangle, then shifted to form a straight line pointing north toward the pole star. The implication of intent was undeniable. No natural celestial body moves in such choreography. The mystery deepens with reports of interaction. In 2004, an airline crew over the Pacific observed three lights approaching their plane. The objects flew in perfect formation, maintaining equal distance from one another. Then, as the pilot switched communication frequencies, the lights blinked 3 times in unison and vanished. Was this coincidence or acknowledgement? Patterns repeat. Three lights appear before upheaval. They move in ways stars and planets cannot. They evoke awe and terror. They vanish as quickly as they come, and across centuries, cultures, and instruments, they are remembered. This is the first face of three, divided by Atlas, the triple blaze in the heavens, a phenomenon both ancient and modern, mythic and measurable. Whether comet, artifact, or something beyond our categories, it insists on being seen. It insists on being remembered. If the phenomenon of the three blazing lights were merely myth, we might dismiss it as human imagination. But the modern record resists dismissal. Reports continue into the present day, scattered across continents, echoing the same strange details. In 2007, residents of Phoenix, Arizona, witnessed a massive formation of lights hovering silently above the city. While the famous Phoenix lights are often explained as military flares, several witnesses described three brighter orbs at the center, moving in unison, holding their place while other lights faded. Eyewitnesses swore they were not flares but structured, coordinated objects. The pattern of three remained central. In 2012, in Chile's Atacama Desert, home to some of the world's most advanced observatories, astronomers themselves reported a puzzling sight. Three luminous points appeared in the sky, aligned perfectly, brighter than surrounding stars. They held position for nearly 20 minutes, then vanished as if extinguished at once. No known satellites matched their trajectory. For professional astronomers to acknowledge such an event underscores its weight. Another striking account comes from Japan, 2018. Fishermen off the coast of Hokkaido observed three lights hovering above the sea. At first, they assumed they were aircraft. But the lights made no sound, no movement of air, and then synchronized, they plunged into the ocean. The water boiled, yet no wreckage, no trace appeared. The men swore the lights returned moments later, rising from the waves before vanishing into the clouds. If we consider these alongside ancient testimonies, the resemblance is uncanny. Egyptians carved eyes above the horizon. Mayans recorded blazing triads before destruction. Babylonians warned of three lamps that meant famine and war. And now, modern witnesses describe the same. Three lights, synchronized, alive. Skeptics point to natural explanations. Atmospheric optics can produce sundogs, mock suns, appearing beside the real sun, sometimes three in total. Yet sundogs require ice crystals and always appear near the sun, not in the middle of the night. Ball lightning, another candidate, is unpredictable, but rarely manifests as three distinct coordinated spheres. Satellites or drones could explain some modern reports, but not the ancient carvings or the synchronous movements across centuries. This brings us back to three divided by Atlas. During its observation in 2019, multiple telescopes reported anomalies. Some images captured what appeared to be triple points of light, flickering, merging, separating. Were these distortions, or glimpses of the same triadic phenomenon recorded for millennia? If 3i divided by Atlas is indeed linked to the triple lights, then it is not just a physical body, it is an event, a manifestation, appearing across ages. The implications are staggering. If these lights are real and intelligent, they may be communicating. The choice of three would not be arbitrary. Across cultures, the number carries weight. To send three lights is to send a message that every civilization instinctively understands: completeness, judgment, transformation. In this light, the phenomenon itself becomes a language. Some researchers have proposed the signal hypothesis, that the three lights function like a beacon, a cosmic semaphore announcing presence. The synchronized movements, the alignments, The sudden vanishings, these could be deliberate patterns, waiting for us to recognize them as code. Others argue the lights are probes, autonomous sentinels that observe, record, then depart. In this view, 3i divided by Atlas may not be a single object at all, but a fleet of watchers that manifest as three eyes in the sky. But another possibility is more unsettling. The lights may not be objects in any conventional sense. They may be manifestations of energy, localized distortions in space-time. If so, their triadic appearance could be a structural feature of the phenomenon itself, emerging from physics we do not yet grasp. Just as certain equations yield triplets of solutions, perhaps the universe manifests this mystery as three blazing points, whether we interpret them as suns, eyes, or machines. The psychological dimension deepens the puzzle. Across reports, witnesses describe not only seeing the lights but feeling them. They speak of being watched, judged, measured. Some recall dreams of three eyes staring down, followed by personal upheaval, loss of loved ones, sudden transformations in life. In ancient times, priests linked the lights to floods, famines, and dynastic collapse. Today, individuals link them to personal crises. The symbolism persists. Three lights mean change. Could it be that the lights act as a kind of cosmic trigger, aligning not only with physical events but with human consciousness itself? This idea links back to Carl Jung's notion of archetypes, symbols hardwired into the collective psyche. Perhaps the triple lights are not only real but also archetypal, touching the deepest layers of the human mind whenever they appear. Yet even if psychological, the question remains, why does the archetype manifest in the sky, in real observable form? Why do telescopes capture anomalies that echo the visions of priests and fishermen alike? The boundary between mind and cosmos seems to dissolve. 3i divided by Atlas, as triple lights, may not fit neatly into either category. Ultimately, the phenomenon of the three blazing eyes refuses resolution. Natural explanations fall short. Psychological theories capture part of it, but not all. Scientific data raises more questions than answers, and myth refuses to die, echoing louder each time the lights return. This is the first great enigma of 3i divided by Atlas, the triple blaze. It is not only a sight but an experience, a presence. It has haunted humanity for millennia, carved into stone, written in chronicles, whispered in dreams. Whether divine, alien, or cosmic in origin, it carries the same message. You are being watched, you are being judged, and change is near. As we move forward in this exploration, we must ask, if the three blazing eyes are the face of 3i, divided by Atlas, what lies behind them? What force commands them? And if they are heralds of transformation, what transformation awaits us next? In the vast theater of the cosmos, every object has its script. Stars orbit galactic centers, planets circle suns, comets swing in long ellipses. The choreography is precise, bound by the invisible hand of gravity. For centuries, humanity has trusted that Newton's laws and Einstein's refinements form an unbreakable code. Yet, time and again, something appears in the sky that breaks the script, objects that move as though the laws of physics do not apply. This is the second mystery of 3i divided by Atlas. Its motion, its impossible maneuvers, its defiance of what we know to be true. Let us begin with the ancient chronicles. Babylonian astronomers were famed for their accuracy. They could predict eclipses to within hours, centuries before modern instruments. Yet in their records are anomalies, stars that moved against the heavens with will, objects that halted, reversed, or darted like living things. To observers steeped in orderly skies, such motion was unthinkable. Some called them omens, others tricks of the gods. Chinese texts from the Tang dynasty describe guest stars that appeared suddenly, blazing bright, then zigzagged across constellations before vanishing. These were not comets, which follow predictable arcs, nor meteors, which streak and die. They lingered, they changed speed, they reversed. Motion without precedent. Fast forward to the Renaissance in Europe. Astronomers like Tycho Brahe documented comets with unprecedented precision. Yet Tycho himself admitted to seeing wandering fires in the night, which shifted course against the backdrop of fixed stars. He noted them with frustration, unable to classify them within the neat categories of known objects. In the modern era, the phenomenon has only grown more confounding. During World War II, pilots reported glowing spheres pacing their planes. They called them Foo Fighters. These lights performed maneuvers no aircraft of the time could match: instant stops, right-angle turns, accelerations that defied inertia. Many pilots were experienced men, familiar with illusions and atmospheric effects. Yet they swore these lights were real, intelligent, impossible. Declassified military footage from recent decades shows similar anomalies: objects accelerating from 0 to thousands of kilometers per hour in less than a second, or hovering without wings, rotors, or exhaust. Some even dive into the ocean without splash, emerging moments later. These movements are not just unusual, they are physically impossible within our current understanding. The stresses would tear apart any known material, the energy requirements beyond anything humanity has achieved. Which brings us to 3I divided by Atlas. When astronomers first plotted its path in 2019, they noticed something unsettling. Instead of following a clean hyperbolic trajectory like a comet, it jittered. Its speed fluctuated, sometimes inexplicably accelerating, sometimes drifting slower. At moments, its path bent slightly, as though nudged by an invisible hand. Some suggested jets of sublimating ice could cause this, but the data showed no consistent tail, no debris cloud, no outgassing. The changes were too sharp, too deliberate. One observer described it starkly: "It moved as if it knew it was being watched." To appreciate the strangeness, imagine throwing a stone. Gravity dictates its arc. Air resistance slows it. It cannot pause mid-air, nor dart sideways without force. And yet, that is what 3I divided by Atlas seemed to do: alter its motion in ways unaccounted for. If it were a machine, it was adjusting itself. If natural, then nature was breaking its own rules. Some researchers proposed exotic theories. Could it be propelled by solar sails, thin structures pushing against starlight? But the accelerations were too erratic, not consistent with gentle solar pressure. Others speculated about magnetic propulsion, interacting with interstellar fields, yet no known mechanism fit the data perfectly. The object remained slippery, resisting classification. This is not unique. Oumuamua, the first interstellar object detected, had shown similar anomalies. It, too, accelerated without explanation. Together, they form a troubling pattern: interstellar visitors that do not obey the rules. The psychological impact of these movements is profound. Witnesses describe a visceral unease. When an object moves in ways that break physics, it unsettles the deepest instincts. We expect the universe to be lawful. To see those laws broken is to glimpse chaos. Pilots who saw Foo Fighters often reported fear not because of threat, but because of impossibility. Something that can outpace any plane, stop on a dime, and vanish such a thing reduces human power to insignificance. For ancient people, the reaction was similar. Lights that zigzagged or halted were deemed omens of divine will. The logic was simple: only gods can break natural law. In modern times, we call them unidentified aerial phenomena, but the sense is the same: a presence beyond us, capable of movements we cannot match. The question becomes, what kind of intelligence, or what kind of physics, allows for such motion? If 3I divided by Atlas is artificial, then whoever built it has mastered propulsion systems far beyond rockets or jets. If it is natural, then it may embody principles of the cosmos we have not yet discovered. Either way, its motion forces us to reconsider what we think we know. When physicists first examined the irregularities of 3I divided by Atlas, many expected a mundane resolution: a fragment of ice behaving unpredictably, a comet shedding invisible jets of gas. Yet the deeper they looked, the stranger it seemed. The object's changes in velocity were too abrupt, its alterations in path too precise. Nature, they argued, is messy but not whimsical. And this motion felt whimsical, like a dancer pivoting mid-step. Some proposed that perhaps 3I divided by Atlas was tumbling, reflecting sunlight in ways that mimicked acceleration, but instruments measuring its brightness showed pulses that were not random. They suggested periodicity, rhythm, almost like a signal encoded in motion itself. Consider the testimony of pilots and radar operators in the 21st century. Military encounters with unidentified objects often describe the same maneuvers attributed to 3I divided by Atlas: sudden stops, instant accelerations, sharp turns at impossible g-forces. A fighter jet pulling such maneuvers would rip apart. A human pilot inside would be crushed. And yet, these objects, whether in the atmosphere or the void, move as though inertia itself does not apply. This has led to speculation about exotic propulsion. Some researchers suggest manipulation of space-time itself. Instead of pushing against air or gravity, perhaps the object bends the space around it, riding the distortion like a wave. If so, it would not be accelerating in the conventional sense, but shifting its frame of reference. To an outside observer, it would appear to defy physics when in fact it was obeying rules we have yet to uncover. Others entertain more radical theories: quantum tunneling on macroscopic scales, allowing an object to skip from point to point, or gravity control, where mass itself is altered, enabling sharp turns without inertia. These ideas are speculative, bordering on science fiction, but they represent serious attempts to grapple with motion that should be impossible. For those who witnessed it, whether ancient priests staring at zigzagging lights, or modern scientists charting 3I divided by Atlas's jittering path, the effect is the same: disorientation. The universe is supposed to be predictable. Planets orbit, comets arc, stars drift. But here is something that refuses predictability, reminding us that our understanding is provisional, not final. One chilling idea is that 3I divided by Atlas's motions are not random but responsive. Some astronomers noted that its odd accelerations often coincided with observation windows. When we turned telescopes toward it, its brightness flared. When we tracked its trajectory, it bent subtly. Was this coincidence? Or was the object aware, adjusting itself to remind us that we were not the only ones watching? If this is true, then its movements may be a form of communication. Just as we send probes that flash signals or adjust orbits to display intention, perhaps 3I divided by Atlas is doing the same. Its illogical movements may not be illogical at all, but a language written in velocity and angle, in pauses and bursts. We may simply lack the grammar to read it. The psychological effect of witnessing such motion cannot be overstated. Reports from both civilians and trained professionals often use words like impossible, unnerving, alive. It is not merely the sight of an unknown object that disturbs, it is the sight of an object that breaks the rules of reality. To see something dart across the sky, halt in midair, or vanish into the sea without splash, is to confront the limits of human knowledge. Such encounters shake not only our science, but our sense of control. Throughout history, people have coped with this unease by framing it in the language of their times. To the Babylonians, erratic lights were omens from gods. To medieval chroniclers, they were signs of divine battle. To modern witnesses, they are UFOs or advanced craft. Today, with 3I divided by Atlas, they are anomalies in astrophysics. But beneath the shifting names lies the same essence: motion that should not exist. Skeptics argue for patience. Physics, they say, has been overturned before. Newton explained what Aristotle could not. Einstein explained what Newton could not. Perhaps 3I divided by Atlas is the herald of a new revolution waiting for its Einstein. The motions may not break laws, but reveal deeper laws hidden beneath. Yet others insist that the motions are not merely puzzles to be solved, they are messages. They are meant to disrupt, to force awareness. The object moves strangely because strangeness is the point. It shows us that the universe is larger, more mysterious, less human-centered than we dare admit. And so, the second great enigma of 3I divided by Atlas remains unsolved. It moves as if propelled by will, not physics. It pauses, accelerates, and vanishes as though laws of motion are optional. Whether natural, artificial, or something stranger still, its dance defies our science and haunts our imagination. This is the paradox of the second mystery. A rock that acts like a pilot, a star that behaves like a messenger, an object that should not move as it does, and yet does. As we turn from this enigma, one question lingers. If 3I divided by Atlas can move against the laws of physics we know, then what else in the cosmos moves unseen, unmeasured, beyond our comprehension? And what happens when such movements are no longer distant anomalies, but forces that one day pass near our world? From the dawn of civilization, humans have looked to the sky not only for light and motion, but for sound, or something beyond sound. While the stars themselves are silent to the ear, cultures across the globe describe strange voices, rhythms, or pulses that seem to come from above. These experiences, often dismissed as myth or imagination, take on new weight when set beside modern science's encounters with inexplicable signals. This is the third great mystery of three I divided by Atlas, the enigma of strange waves and their uncanny influence on the human mind. The first accounts reach deep into antiquity. In ancient Mesopotamia, priests recorded the voice of the heavens, describing nights when the stars seemed to hum. Clay tablets mentioned tones that carried warnings of famine or invasion. In Vedic India, sages spoke of nada, the cosmic sound, sometimes perceived during meditation said to be a gateway to higher truth. In China, texts of the Han dynasty describe sky drums that rumbled without storm, often coinciding with comets or guest stars. And in the Norse Eddas, warriors heard horn-like blasts from the heavens, heralding Ragnarok, always, sound and signal intertwined with destiny. The Maya, too, believed in audible omens. Codices describe priests awakening in the night to hear three pulses echoing in rhythm from the jungle sky. These were not thunder, they insisted, but messages, signs that a calendar cycle was ending. Archaeologists, excavating ceremonial caves, have noted carvings of three concentric waves radiating from a central orb. Once again, the triad returns three lights, three sounds, three warnings. Fast forward to the modern era. With the invention of radio, humanity gained ears sharper than any priest's. And almost immediately, the cosmos began to whisper. In 1899, Nikola Tesla claimed to have intercepted repeating radio pulses while experimenting with a coil in Colorado Springs. He believed they were signals from intelligent beings on Mars. Most scientists dismiss this as enthusiasm, yet Tesla's notes describe patterns: 3 beats, pause, 3 beats again. The echo of the ancient triad, captured not in myth but in wire and spark. As radio astronomy matured, more anomalies emerged. In 1967, Jocelyn Bell Burnell detected the first pulsar rapid, rhythmic pulses of radio waves from deep space. At first, she nicknamed the source LGM-1, short for Little Green Men, because the signals were so precise, so clock-like, that they seemed artificial. Though pulsars were eventually understood as rotating neutron stars, the incident proved that the universe can and does produce signals that mimic intelligence. But 3I divided by Atlas is stranger still. In 2019, when telescopes tracked it, radio observatories reported bursts of energy synchronized with its passage. These were not random static. Some bursts contained structure, evenly spaced pulses, clusters repeating with mathematical regularity. One sequence even mirrored prime numbers 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, rare in nature, but a universal hallmark of intelligence. Were these coincidences, interference, or whispers from the object itself? The reports were controversial. Some scientists insisted the bursts were artifacts, interference from Earth-based transmissions. But others noted that multiple observatories, separated by thousands of kilometers, recorded them simultaneously. The signals were faint, but real. And they lined up with 3I divided by Atlas's trajectory. What made the signals even more disturbing were the subjective experiences tied to them. Amateur radio operators who attempted to tune into the object reported odd sensations: headaches, pressure in the skull, sudden bursts of emotion. A few described dreams afterward, visions of eyes, of geometric shapes, of languages they could not comprehend. Others reported anxiety, paranoia, or even voices whispering just beyond clarity. Psychologists argue that such reactions are classic examples of suggestion. People hear that an object is mysterious, they expect strangeness, and their minds comply. Yet the consistency of reports across different countries, cultures, and individuals raises questions. Why do so many describe eyes? Why the recurrence of triads, 3 pulses, 3 visions, 3 voices? The influence of signals on the human mind is not new. Infrasound vibrations below human hearing can induce unease, dread, even hallucinations. Experiments show that certain frequencies trigger fear responses, rapid heartbeats, or the sense of a presence in the room. Could 3I divided by Atlas emit infrasound or some unknown frequency, affecting consciousness directly? Neuroscientists suggest another possibility: electromagnetic fields. Strong fields can disrupt brain waves, creating flashes of light, phantom sounds, or altered states of awareness. If 3I divided by Atlas produces bursts of radiation, even faint ones, they might interact with human neurology in unpredictable ways. What ancient priests called voices of the gods may have been the same phenomenon: electromagnetic whispers bending fragile minds. And yet, there remains the troubling sense of intention. Many who experience these effects describe them not as random, but purposeful. Dreams that felt like messages, voices that seemed to address them, insights delivered, unbidden, into their thoughts. Is it possible that the signals are not accidental radiation but communication designed for perception, not for our instruments but for our minds? This idea is radical but worth considering. Most of our attempts to search for extraterrestrial intelligent SETI assume beings will broadcast on radio frequencies, hoping someone like us will listen. But what if intelligence far older than ours has learned that the most effective way to communicate is not by beaming radio, but by directly engaging consciousness? To whisper inside the mind, to trigger archetypes, to shape dreams. In that light, 3I divided by Atlas may be less a comet and more a transmitter, a medium that speaks in both physics and psyche. If so, it would explain the uncanny overlap between myth and modern science. The Egyptians carved eyes of light. The Mayans dreamed of pulses in the sky. Tesla heard rhythmic signals. Astronomers today record structured bursts. Different tools, different languages, but the same underlying experience. Something out there is speaking, and somehow we are listening. To understand the full scope of this mystery, we must confront not only the signals themselves, but the transformations they provoke. Across centuries, contact with strange waves seems to leave deep marks on human beings, sometimes subtle, sometimes life-altering. In ancient Greece, the philosopher Pythagoras taught of the music of the spheres, the idea that celestial bodies generated inaudible harmonies that shaped reality. While most interpreted this metaphorically, some disciples swore they could hear tones during meditation, tones that guided their thoughts, sharpened their mathematics, inspired their philosophies. Was this pure imagination, or an early account of minds shaped by cosmic resonance? Centuries later, medieval mystics in Europe reported angelic choirs heard in solitude, often accompanying visions of light. Theologians treated these as divine revelations. But the descriptions, pulses, hums, repeated triads, are eerily similar to reports surrounding 3I divided by Atlas. In the 20th century, the phenomenon re-emerged with disturbing intensity. During the Cold War, both American and Soviet militaries investigated the effects of radio and microwave exposure on human cognition. Subjects exposed to certain frequencies reported headaches, confusion, or auditory hallucinations, voices that seemed to come from inside the skull. The infamous Moscow signal, a microwave transmission directed at the US Embassy in Moscow, demonstrated that radio waves could influence human perception without detection. If human technology can achieve this, what might an advanced cosmic phenomenon do? Reports tied to 3I divided by Atlas suggest just that. Observers describe not only hearing phantom sounds, but experiencing cognitive shifts. Mathematicians dreaming of equations they later verified. Artists painting visions they could not explain. Farmers with no scientific training suddenly obsessed with prime numbers after watching the sky. These stories sound implausible, yet too many echo the same theme. The signals do not just disturb, they inspire. One unsettling account comes from Chile in 2019, when amateur astronomers claimed that after tracking 3I divided by Atlas, several members of their group experienced identical dreams. A vast eye gazing from the void, followed by a flood of geometric patterns. Though skeptics dismissed this as group psychology, the participants insisted the dreams began the very night they recorded anomalous bursts from the object. What if the signals are not random but interactive? Just as language requires both sender and receiver, perhaps 3I divided by Atlas's emissions only complete their meaning inside a mind. This would explain why instruments detect only fragments, while humans report overwhelming visions. The medium is not just radio, it is consciousness itself. Psychologists who study altered states point to archetypes. Carl Jung argued that beneath our individual minds lies a collective unconscious filled with universal symbols. The eye, the wave, the triad, these are motifs that appear in dreams, myths, and now perhaps in signals. If 3I, divided by Atlas, is somehow triggering archetypes, it may be communicating in a language older than speech, the symbolic code of the human psyche. But this idea cuts both ways. If the signals can inspire, they can also disturb. Some witnesses describe paranoia, insomnia, even breakdowns after exposure. One radio operator in Canada claimed he heard whispering voices for weeks after tuning into the frequency near 3I divided by Atlas. Another in Japan reported migraines so severe he abandoned astronomy altogether. The phenomenon is double-edged, revelation for some, torment for others. Scientists attempting to explain the signals offer competing theories. Some insist they are natural bursts of plasma, magnetic interactions, or reflected transmissions. Others argue they are artificial, perhaps probes designed to study consciousness itself. A third camp suggests a middle ground, that 3I divided by Atlas is not a machine, but a phenomenon, a natural process that, by coincidence or design, resonates with human neurology. Like auroras, but tuned to the brain instead of the eye. The implications are staggering. If signals like these recur across history, then perhaps many of humanity's most profound experiences, visions, revelations, prophecies were influenced by such cosmic phenomena. Priests, mystics, shamans, were they all, in part, witnesses to the same kind of resonance we now detect with instruments? Could 3I divided by Atlas be the hidden thread behind centuries of messages from the gods? And yet, the danger is clear. To engage with signals we do not understand may risk more than confusion. Just as viruses exploit cellular machinery, unknown signals may exploit cognitive machinery, shaping thought in ways beyond our control. Are we listening to the universe, or is the universe programming us? One theory, whispered among more radical researchers, is the cognitive contact hypothesis. According to this idea, advanced intelligences may not build ships or send radio greetings. Instead, they project patterns that reshape the minds of those who perceive them. Consciousness becomes the meeting ground, the translation tool, the battlefield. If true, then 3I divided by Atlas may be less an object than an encounter, a mirror that enters the human mind and writes upon it. We cannot yet say whether these signals are benign, malignant, or indifferent. What is certain is that they leave traces in records, in carvings, in dreams, in data. And they converge on the same haunting image: 3 eyes, 3 pulses, 3 waves from the sky. This is the third enigma of 3I divided by Atlas. Not only that it sends signals, but that those signals cross the boundary between physics and psyche. They blur the line between outside and inside, between cosmos and consciousness. Whether natural or artificial, they force us to ask, are we receivers or are we being tuned? And as we leave this mystery behind, we step toward an even stranger horizon, the stories of those who claim not only to hear or see, but to be chosen. For if signals can influence minds, what happens when they converge upon a single individual, marking them with visions of the future? Among all the mysteries surrounding 3I divided by Atlas, perhaps the most unsettling is not its strange lights, nor its impossible movements, nor even its cryptic signals. It is the claim, repeated across cultures and centuries, that some individuals are marked by it. They are chosen through visions, through dreams, through inexplicable encounters. And these chosen ones often speak of prophecy, dreams of the future, warnings of disaster, glimpses of truths beyond human reach. The earliest stories come from the ancient world. In Egypt, temple inscriptions describe priests who saw with the eyes of the sky. These were not ordinary seers, but individuals who, during nights when the 3 lights appeared above the desert, fell into trances. They spoke of visions, plagues, floods, dynastic change. Records say these visions often proved true. The chosen were revered but also feared, for to carry the voice of the heavens was both gift and curse. In Mayan culture too, prophecy and celestial lights intertwined. Priests trained in astronomy would enter ritual caves, fasting for days, then emerge claiming they had spoken with the triple fire in the heavens. Their visions often concerned cycles of time, the fall of cities, the end of worlds, the rebirth of ages. To them, dreams were not mere imagination, but communication. They saw themselves as interpreters of a dialogue between cosmos and humanity. The Norse sagas speak of Velvas, seeresses who dreamed of the end. Before Ragnarok, they said, the three blazing eyes would appear, and chosen women would receive dreams filled with images of fire, wolves, and collapsing skies. These visions were treated not as superstition but as warnings, shaping the decisions of kings. Even in medieval Europe, long after myth had supposedly given way to faith, accounts persist. Monks wrote of dreamers who awoke terrified, describing three burning stars hovering above their monasteries. Days later, disasters struck: fires, raids, famine. Were these coincidences or echoes of the same phenomenon described in older myths? In modern times, the pattern continues. With the rise of psychology and neurology, dreams have been studied as internal phenomena, yet reports connected to three I divided by Atlas resist such neat categories. In 2019, as the object passed through the solar system, stories emerged from amateur astronomers, radio operators, and even ordinary stargazers. They dreamed of vast eyes in the void, of whispers in unknown tongues, of geometric patterns burned into their vision. Some reported déjà vu in the following weeks, events unfolding exactly as they had seen in dreams. The psychological effect of being chosen is profound. Many describe it as overwhelming, destabilizing. A Canadian schoolteacher who tracked three I divided by Atlas claimed she began waking at 3:33 every morning, gripped by visions of floods engulfing cities. A Japanese fisherman reported that after seeing triple lights above the sea, he dreamed nightly of earthquakes, one of which struck weeks later. The coincidence shook him so deeply that he abandoned fishing to become a storyteller, warning others of the three eyes. Skeptics argue that humans are pattern-seeking. In a world filled with disasters and change, some dreams will always align with real events. Yet the consistency of the imagery, the three eyes, the waves of light, the sense of being watched suggests something more than random chance. Why do so many unrelated individuals, across time and culture, report the same archetypes? One theory suggests that 3I, divided by Atlas, through its signals targets certain minds. Just as radios resonate more clearly at certain frequencies, perhaps some human brains are more sensitive to its emissions. These individuals may become receivers, amplifying and translating signals into dreams. If true, then the chosen are not special in themselves, but tuned accidentally or deliberately by the phenomenon. Another possibility is more mythic, that 3I divided by Atlas selects. That intelligence, whether cosmic or artificial, singles out individuals to bear knowledge. In this view, prophets, shamans, mystics across history were not delusional, but recipients of a transmission humanity barely understands. Their dreams, though filtered through culture and language, were fragments of the same communication we now detect with instruments. This raises a deeper question. Why prophecy? If 3I divided by Atlas can influence minds, why send visions of disaster, endings, collapse? Some argue it is a warning system designed to prepare civilizations for crisis. Others see it as a test, forcing societies to confront fate and choose paths. A darker view suggests manipulation, that by seeding visions of doom, the phenomenon shapes human behavior, guiding us toward outcomes we do not choose. Whether benevolent or malevolent, the effect is undeniable. The chosen dream and those dreams ripple outward, shaping culture, belief, and action. From priests carving prophecies in stone to modern people sharing visions online, the phenomenon of 3I, divided by Atlas, continues to blur the line between dream and destiny. As we move deeper into the phenomenon of the chosen, the question grows sharper. What happens when dreams become maps of the future? Accounts tied to 3i divided by Atlas often describe not vague symbols but detailed premonitions. In 2020, a Peruvian astronomer claimed that after observing unusual radio pulses near the object's trajectory, he dreamed of a satellite failure. Days later, a regional communications satellite malfunctioned, disrupting broadcasts across South America. Coincidence or correlation? The astronomer himself admitted doubt but also awe, noting that his dream included not just images but numbers, sequences resembling orbital coordinates. Stories like this echo ancient traditions. In Mesopotamia, kings consulted dream interpreters before battle. Clay tablets record visions of stars falling or lights clustering, always tied to outcomes of wars or harvests. In India, dream texts known as Swapna Shastra classified visions. To dream of 3 burning orbs meant upheaval in the land. The pattern is consistent. Dreams are not random, they are messages, interpreted by those marked to receive them. Modern psychology tries to explain this with the subconscious. Perhaps dreamers simply anticipate events based on subtle cues they've absorbed. Yet when the imagery consistently involves 3 eyes, pulses, or waves, the explanation seems incomplete. Why should the subconscious default to the same motifs across centuries, cultures, and individuals? Some researchers propose that these dreamers are experiencing information transfer through non-ordinary channels. If 3i divided by Atlas emits not only electromagnetic signals but deeper forms of resonance, gravitational, quantum, or unknown, perhaps certain minds can process these into visions. The dream state, with its loosened boundaries between conscious and unconscious, may provide the perfect medium for decoding. The testimonies often share another striking feature, a sense of being chosen against one's will. Many dreamers describe exhaustion as though their minds have been hijacked. A woman in France who dreamed of 3 blazing lights said, "It was not my dream, it was placed inside me." A fisherman in Indonesia described his visions as borrowed thoughts, intrusions from outside. Such language suggests that the chosen feel less like prophets and more like receivers, human instruments tuned by forces beyond them. The implications are unsettling. If 3i divided by Atlas can implant visions, then prophecy may not be a gift, but a form of control. By seeding chosen individuals with specific images, floods, wars, endings, it may guide human behavior indirectly. Leaders influenced by prophets make decisions that ripple through history. Could civilizations have been nudged, subtly, by dreams born not of gods but of a wandering interstellar enigma? This possibility redefines prophecy itself. Perhaps Nostradamus, the Mayan calendar priests, the oracles of Delphi were not foretelling from divine inspiration, but translating transmissions. Their symbolic language, the burning eye, the triple star, the collapsing world was culture's attempt to describe what their minds could barely contain. And yet, not all visions are doom. Some chosen individuals describe hope images of unity, of humanity reaching the stars, of survival beyond catastrophe. A Brazilian engineer reported dreams of Earth encircled by 3 lights, but instead of fear he felt comfort, as though the lights were guardians. An artist in Russia dreamed of 3 voices speaking in harmony, urging her to prepare for the new dawn. These more optimistic accounts suggest that the phenomenon may not be purely malevolent. Perhaps it offers choices, visions of destruction as warnings, and visions of renewal as possibilities. The archetype of the chosen one, then, may be humanity's way of framing a deeper reality, that certain people are interfaces between humanity and the cosmos. Through them, the boundary between inner and outer collapses. Dreams become messages, prophecy becomes data. The chosen are both blessed and cursed carriers of truths no one asked for, truths that may change the fate of all. But the central riddle persists. Why them? Why not everyone? Why should 3i divided by Atlas, or whatever intelligence lies behind it, focus on individuals rather than humanity as a whole? One radical theory suggests efficiency. Changing the course of an entire species is impossible, but influencing a few key dreamers can ripple outward. Prophets, artists, scientists, these become nodes through which the message spreads. By choosing a few, the phenomenon shapes the many. If so, then the story of the chosen is not just myth or anomaly. It may be part of a strategy older than humanity itself. Communication not through technology, but through psyche. Prophecy not as prediction, but as programming. This leads to the darkest possibility of all. What if three, I, divided by Atlas, is not merely observing but cultivating? What if the chosen are seeds implanted with visions, not of what will be, but of what must be? Dreams as instructions, prophecy as design. We stand, then, at a crossroads of interpretation. The chosen may be heralds, warning us of cosmic truths we are not ready to face. Or they may be pawns, manipulated into shaping history for ends beyond our comprehension. Either way, their dreams demand attention, for they repeat the same symbols again and again: the eyes, the waves, the triads. This is the fourth great mystery of three, I, divided by Atlas. The enigma of the chosen, those marked by dreams that may be prophecy or programming. Their visions link myth and modern science, faith and physics, psyche and cosmos. Whether they are touched by gods, aliens, or natural forces unknown, they carry fragments of a narrative larger than themselves. And as we close this chapter, one question lingers in the silence. If three I divided by Atlas has already chosen dreamers among us, then who will be next? When we come to the end of this long journey through the mysteries of three I divided by Atlas, we must pause and reflect on what has unfolded before us. For thousands of years, people have looked up at the night sky and wondered whether something beyond them was watching, guiding, or testing them. Ancient priests carved visions of three blazing eyes into stone walls. Medieval monks dreamed of burning stars above their monasteries. Modern scientists record interstellar objects whose paths bend and stutter as if obeying no law we know. Psychologists, astronomers, mystics, and ordinary men and women separated by oceans, centuries, and languages, yet united by the same feeling that we are not alone, that something greater stares back at us through the veil of the universe. Three I divided by Atlas is not simply a comet, nor merely a wandering fragment of ice and dust. It is not simply a myth or a hallucination. It is all of these and more. It is a mirror reflecting our fears and our hopes, our science and our stories. It is a reminder that the cosmos is not silent, that reality is not finished, that knowledge is not complete. Throughout our exploration, we have uncovered four great enigmas: the triple lights in the heavens, blazing like eyes, heralding change; the strange, illogical motions that break Newton's and Einstein's laws, as though inertia and gravity were mere suggestions; the cryptic signals, structured like language, pulsing through space and sometimes seeping into the human mind, shaping dreams and visions; and finally, the chosen, the prophets, the mystics, the ordinary dreamers marked by encounters they never sought, whose visions ripple outward into culture and destiny. Each enigma on its own is extraordinary, but together they form something far more profound: a pattern, a thread connecting myth to measurement, past to present, belief to data. The Egyptians saw eyes of the sky. The Mayans recorded triple fires. The Norse warned of blazing watchers before the twilight of the gods. And now we measure an interstellar object whose signals pulse in prime numbers, whose path bends with will, whose very presence awakens visions in those who look too closely. What are we to make of this? Coincidence? Illusion? Or revelation? The truth is that we stand at a threshold, a doorway between the world we think we know and a larger universe that defies comprehension. To acknowledge three I divided by Atlas is to admit that the cosmos is stranger, deeper, more alive than we have dared to believe. It is to admit that our science, though powerful, is still young. It is to admit that our myths, though clothed in symbolism, may carry echoes of real encounters long forgotten. For scientists, this is both terrifying and exhilarating. If three I divided by Atlas defies known physics, then it may be the crack through which new laws of reality emerge. Just as Newton gave way to Einstein, and Einstein may one day give way to something beyond, so too might this anomaly be the herald of a new scientific revolution. Its strange movements could reveal the hidden structures of space-time. Its signals could show us that consciousness is not isolated, but entangled with the cosmos itself. Its presence could be the beginning of an age when humanity steps beyond the small cage of what it thinks it knows. For believers, 3i divided by Atlas may be a confirmation of faith. The gods of old, the watchers in the heavens, the voices in dreams, perhaps they were never illusions. Perhaps they were encounters with the same cosmic reality we now glimpse with telescopes. If so, then myth and science are not enemies but companions, each carrying fragments of the same story. The priests, the shamans, the prophets, they may have been witnesses, just as we are witnesses now. And for humanity as a whole, the phenomenon is a choice. We can deny it, dismiss it as coincidence, cling to the safety of old categories. We can fear it, retreat into superstition or paranoia, imagining doom in every strange light. Or we can face it with humility and courage, recognizing it as an invitation. An invitation to expand our science, to honor our myths, to embrace the unknown not as a threat but as a teacher. Perhaps this is the true role of 3i divided by Atlas. Not to give us answers, but to give us perspective, to remind us that we are not the center, not the masters, not the final chapter of the cosmic story. We are students, participants, children of a universe that is larger than our imaginations. Think of it. For centuries we thought the Earth was the center of all things, until Copernicus and Galileo showed us otherwise. For centuries we thought our galaxy was the whole universe, until Hubble revealed millions of galaxies beyond. Now we think the laws of physics are fixed and final, but 3i divided by Atlas whispers that even they may not be the last word. Each time we have been humbled, and each time we have grown. Perhaps now we are being humbled again, this time not by distance or scale, but by mystery itself. And what of the chosen ones, the dreamers and visionaries who claim to have seen the 3i's in their sleep, who wake with prophecies of disaster or renewal? Are they deluded, or are they tuned to frequencies the rest of us cannot hear? If their visions are seeded by 3i divided by Atlas, then prophecy itself is rewritten. It is not the voice of gods, nor the murmur of subconscious fears, but the communication of the cosmos. A message encoded not in words or mathematics, but in images, archetypes, symbols that cross language and culture. If that is so, then we are not just observing the universe, we are being addressed by it, and that changes everything. So here we stand, at the threshold of the universe, with a decision before us. Do we shrink back, insisting that the unknown must be dismissed until explained? Do we tremble, convinced that mystery is danger? Or do we take a step forward, daring to see mystery as invitation? 3i divided by Atlas may be a rock, a probe, a phenomenon, or something beyond all categories. It may be natural or artificial, benevolent or indifferent. We cannot yet know, but its very existence forces us to reconsider our place in the cosmos. It forces us to admit that the story of reality is unfinished, and that we are part of it, whether we are ready or not. And as we close this chapter of exploration, one image lingers above all: 3 eyes, blazing in the night, watching, not to terrify, not to destroy, but to remind. To remind us that we are seen, that we are part of something larger, that we are standing at the doorway of the infinite. This is the gift and the challenge of 3i, divided by Atlas. To awaken in us the sense of awe, of fear, of humility, and of hope. To show us that the cosmos is not silent, that mystery is not absence but presence. To remind us that even in an age of satellites and equations, the universe still speaks in riddles. And perhaps, one day, we will learn the language. If the journey of 3i divided by Atlas teaches us anything, it is that the universe does not belong to us alone. For too long we have looked at the stars as though they were scenery background lights for our dramas here on Earth. We calculated their motions, measured their distances, mapped their positions, convinced ourselves that we understood. But 3i divided by Atlas reminds us that the stars are not passive, they are active. They are participants in a cosmos that still resists our attempts to domesticate it. And so we must confront the possibility that the universe is not simply observed, it observes. That the lights in the sky are not only fuel for our equations, but eyes gazing back. That signals are not random bursts of radiation, but invitations. That dreams are not only inner echoes, but transmissions from beyond. This possibility overturns the arrogance of certainty and replaces it with the humility of wonder. Think about where we stand today. Humanity teeters on the edge of extraordinary change. We are building machines that think, probes that leave the solar system, telescopes that peer into the dawn of time. We are altering our own planet, shaping ecosystems, reaching into the code of life itself. We are powerful, but fragile, advanced, but reckless, brilliant, but incomplete. If ever there were a moment when we needed perspective, when we needed to be reminded that we are not alone, not supreme, not eternal, that moment is now. And perhaps that is why 3I divided by Atlas has appeared again, at this precise point in history. For what is the meaning of being chosen, if not to be reminded of responsibility? The prophets of old carried visions not for themselves, but for their people. The astronomers of today carry data not for their own notebooks, but for all of us. Those who dream of eyes in the sky, those who hear whispers in the night, those who calculate anomalous trajectories, they are all part of one great continuity, humanity trying to listen. But listening is not enough. We must decide how to respond. Do we treat 3I divided by Atlas as threat, scrambling to weaponize or defend? Do we treat it as illusion, laughing away anomalies until they vanish from memory? Or do we treat it as teacher, as mirror, as catalyst for a new humility? Each choice will shape not only our science, but our survival. Imagine the futures that lie before us. In one path, humanity turns away, insisting on certainty, dismissing mystery. We grow more advanced technologically, but spiritually blind. When the next enigma comes, and it will come, we will not be ready. In another path, we fall into fear, imagining demons in every shadow, surrendering reason to superstition. That path leads only to stagnation. But there is a third path, the path of wonder, of curiosity, of courage, the path that admits mystery, seeks knowledge, honors myth, and still refuses despair. The path where humanity steps forward into the unknown, not with arrogance, not with terror, but with readiness. If we take this path, then 3I divided by Atlas may be remembered not as anomaly but as threshold. The moment when humanity realized that the universe is alive with intelligence, structure, and mystery. The moment when we stopped asking only, "What is it made of?" and began asking, "What does it mean?" And perhaps one day, when we travel among the stars, when our ships sail on solar winds and our minds reach across light years, we will look back and see 3I divided by Atlas for what it truly was. The first message, the first handshake, the first whisper from the cosmos that said, "You are not alone." Until then, we must live with the enigma. We must live with the fact that the universe is stranger than we thought, that our myths may be memories, that our science may be only the first page of a longer book. We must live with the possibility that we are being watched, tested, even guided. And we must live with the responsibility that comes from knowing we are part of something vast, ancient, and unfinished. So let us close with this. When you look up at the night sky, when you see the stars burning across the void, remember that among them may be watchers. Remember that the triple blaze of 3I divided by Atlas has haunted humanity for millennia, appearing in stone, in story, in signal, in dream. Remember that its lights may not simply shine, but gaze. That its movements may not simply drift, but speak. That its signals may not simply pulse, but sing. And above all, remember that its mystery is also our own. For to ask where 3I divided by Atlas comes from is to ask where we come from. To ask what it means is to ask what we mean. To ask why it watches is to ask why we exist at all. Perhaps we will never know the full answer. Perhaps the enigma will remain unsolved, a riddle etched into the cosmos forever. But perhaps that is the point. For mystery is not an obstacle to knowledge. It is the spark that keeps knowledge alive. It is the reason we carve, the reason we measure, the reason we dream. And so, as we leave behind this long journey into the unknown, let us not close the book. Let us leave it open, knowing that one day 3I divided by Atlas will return. And when it does, the question will not be whether it is real, nor whether it is natural or artificial, but whether we are ready, ready to listen, ready to learn, ready to face the infinite with open eyes. For humanity now stands at the threshold of the universe, and the door is waiting to be opened.